Well, I realized that I stand between you and lunch. So I'm going to be as quick as possible with trying to get some of these points that we'll talk about here on how to build amazing products. I will leave some time at the end for questions, and feel free to jump in, as this is very interesting kind of discussion. I'm hoping that it's going to be an interesting discussion. So let's. Yes, we're going to skip this. This is the header. All right, so a little bit about me. I am a VP of product at a company called Visit.org, and we are in the corporate social responsibility space, bringing kind of the nonprofit world to the businesses to enable their employees to come and make local social impact wherever they are for the causes they really care about. My story in product starts actually about after working for about a decade or so in the semiconductor space. I worked in Silicon Valley. I worked for a couple of different companies as an engineer. Started out with doing some really cool, very technically challenging products as a designer, designing integrated circuits. And I was at the very edge of cutting edge technology. This is late 90s. And everything that we built was custom. Everything that we built was in silicon. Everything was really hard, challenging problems. And loving it. So over 10 years, I've joined a couple of different companies. I was at this startup at one time that for the first time, the sales team had invited engineers to join them on a customer call. That was not really a normal practice at the time, so I volunteered. I went to accompany a salesperson to kind of bring in that technical credibility to the conversation with the customer. And for me, a whole new environment, and what I realized as we're going through these, understanding the customer's problems, very quickly I realized that even though our product is by far superior to all the competition out there, we're not really getting the business. And getting that exposure with the customer, it gave me a very first degree view into why that is. And we were missing the mark. So we were missing the mark. Sales was going out there to sell our product, very technical, very cutting edge. And nobody really took the time to understand the customer. It was nobody's job. We had no product function in the company. And sales out there selling, engineering it's out there developing. And without anybody bridging that gap, we had a very cool product, a lot of fancy things that you can do with it, but not really solving the customer's problem. And therefore, you're not going to have success. So it's this time when I realized that we have a gap in the company that this product functionality that it was new at the time that kind of intrigued me to kind of start digging into a little bit more and trying to understand why is it that we don't put any effort into understanding the customer. This is how I landed completely by accident with this one visit with the customer into the world of product. Over the next 15 years, I've kind of, my journey through product has gone through a couple of different startups, starting from an IC to a team lead to now a functional lead. And what this is all in software, mostly SaaS products. And what I've seen is a couple of patterns that kind of keep repeating themselves. There's certain things that make product really successful, and there are other things that are really working against you. So hopefully here, over the rest of the time, we can kind of share some of those insights into what actually really makes a product successful and how can you sustain that success over time. So as most of us are here in product, we are product builders and we strive to make product amazing. But what is it that really makes our product amazing? So let's take a look at what is it that really put that that product on a pedestal that all the users will come in and say, really, that was awesome, that product is amazing. Here's why. So a product is amazing when it starts with solving the right problem. So this is very, very obvious to most of us, right? But you'd be surprised how many products are out there that are really solving the wrong problem, and because of that, they don't really get either traction or they don't see the success over time. So focusing on solving the right problem. It's not necessarily just a problem, but the right problem is what really puts your product on the amazing path. The second thing is user experience. So now I want to talk a little bit about, most of my experience has been in the B2B space. And user experience in the B2B space has been an afterthought for way too long. Over the last 5 years or so, the consumer side of the software world has really pushed the business, the B2B software to kind of embrace this ease of use, this user experience, just because the way business software is being sold today. Each of the, when you sell a B2B, a lot of times it was very rigid in the past, very rigid sales cycle, very rigid buying process, and user experience was just not important. If it was functional, if it was the right cost, if it got the job done, you're in. That's no longer true. User ease of use is and user experience is proliferating the B2B space as much as it is on the consumer side. And easy to use product is something that really puts an emphasis on removing obstacles, adding intuition into getting in and getting the most value of your product, and at the end, really making things obvious. Now, making things obvious is really, really hard. This is one of the biggest challenges in user experience. But if you really consciously put effort into user experience, I think it really elevates how some of these other things that we'll talk about actually come to light when you build those relationships with your users. A product is amazing when you keep innovating. I know we've talked a little bit about today on innovation, and innovation in this sense is something that you continue to push your product forward. You don't stagnate with whatever you found your market fit on, and you stay here and you kind of iterate on it. Innovation adds new problems. It expands the product with the product space, and it allows you to keep up with your customers, because problems that you solve today, 2, 3, 4 years from now, they're going to be obsolete. You're going to have a whole new set of problems. So just because you hit the nail today, unless you keep innovating, you're not going to have sustained success. The last and probably the most important piece here is that an amazing product has a very, very high emotional value. Now, what is emotional value? This is the emotions that your users go through when they are experiencing your product, when they're using it. And there's a whole science behind this, but the idea here is that when users, people just like us, when they use something, you can invoke positive emotions, negative emotions, you can add frustration if your UX is not really flowing the way it's supposed to, and so on. And having an emotional response, it's the first thing. Second thing is you want that emotional response to be positive. Because if it's negative, they're never going to come back. And also that could work really against you, because this is a two-edged sword when it comes to the product. Now, how do you stay ahead in this really, really fast-moving world when Technology keeps moving at a speed of light. Everything just happens so fast. Everybody is innovating, and there's never been easier to build products. We live in this world now that everything is so easy that you can go and prototype something very quickly. You can go build products. There's ideas everywhere. The competition is getting really, really, really growing. So to stay ahead, the first thing is, which is kind of counterintuitive, is you need to step back. Which is, most people think that, hey, for us to keep up with everybody, we just have to keep pushing forward. But what I'm saying here is that to keep up, you actually have to step back. And when you do that, when you do step back, you get a perspective. You start understanding your users. You understand them at the human level, because people buy software, people buy products. It's not some creature out there that you cannot really relate to. By understanding the human side of your users, you get to understand their needs, understand their problems, and this is what allows you to start building this relationship. The relationship is one of the relationship with your users is one of the most important pieces for your continued success, because then your product, it's not transactional anymore. It becomes an ongoing relationship. And by you innovating, by you adding new features and new problems to the problem set that you're already addressing with them, you have this ongoing relationship. Now, relationship is a two-way street. As you kind of get to understand them and get to know them, it's really important to bring your users into the fold of how you operate. And what I mean by that is, get them involved into the discovery process. Get them involved in the development cycle. It gives them a chance to influence, and we all love to influence. It gives them a chance to kind of create the path in which you, as a product offering, is going. And it also gives them meaning. So this also, at the end, builds a level of trust with your users that really it moves over to the next thing, that when you build that trust with your users, it really establishes that relationship at a much deeper level. When you also step back, you get a chance to surprise your users. So this is something in software development. I think we've all heard of the Easter egg metaphor, where you kind of, for the people that don't know what that is, it's something sometimes when developers go in and build a little feature that really nobody documented, nobody talked about, and the user comes in, and now they're really pleasantly surprised with how this works, and it really not unexpected completely. Make a conscious effort to surprise your users positively on an ongoing basis. Don't make this an accident. Make it a conscious part of your development, conscious part of building that ongoing positive relationship with your users. And by doing all of these things, you get a champion. Your users become your champions. A champion, what I mean by champion is like they go out there and they promote you. They talk about you. They talk about how great your product is, what it did for them, how it saved them time, how it made them feel, all of those things. And now they become an extension of your sales team. Completely, this is the original kind of concept of virality, where your users are selling for you. So all of these things are pieces that I think when you step back, you can consciously put in place to continue and have that success on the long run. Now, to really understand how to move forward and build upon that success, I think it's really important to visualize the future. And this is something that a lot of times we really don't have time to do. We're just super busy in the grind. We're doing everything every day. We're trying to catch up. We're always playing catch up. There's always more things to do, never enough time, all of that. But if you step back and you start visualizing the future, start challenging all of the assumptions. You're going to have new data coming into the fold all the time. You're going to be flooded with new data, with new situations, new problems. Visualize the future puts everything in perspective, but it also gives you a chance to choose which future you want to take, because you're the one that is building the future. So I want to give a little story here about this Stanford professor. I think it was Tina Seelig, something like that, that basically took her class and split it in a couple of different groups and gave them $5 for each team. And it said, you have 2 hours, go out there, make as much money as you can, come back and give 3 minutes presentation to the class. Okay, so what happened was everybody went out there, and most people did, well, with $5 we can buy this, then we can upvalue it, sell it for $7, okay, we're gonna make some money, fine. Okay, so that's kind of like the traditional way of how do you make more money with the capital that you have. Another team took a different approach. They basically sat back and said, look, the $5 that we have as a starter, it's not really our biggest asset. The biggest asset that we have is the 2 hours that we can actually make the money. So how can we actually leverage the two hours? And they realized that, like in Palo Alto, where Stanford is, they have a bunch of restaurants that are really waitlisted for people to come in. So they went and booked all these slots for the restaurants, and then they were selling them for people that didn't want to wait in line. Okay? Awesome idea. This is great. This is outside of the box thinking. They made $150, $200. Awesome. There was one team that challenged even that and went a step further. And they said, look, it's not the $5 that's not our biggest asset. It's not even the 2 hours that we have to make the money that's the biggest asset. What we have that's most valuable, it's the 3 minutes presentation that we do at the end. And so they went out there and basically they sold the 3-minute access to the class to a company that wanted to come and recruit Stanford people. They made $650. What this story tells you is that a lot of times we kind of close our blinds and we make all these assumptions that really limits us to what we really could be doing. So always try to challenge assumptions and don't let that kind of limit your capacity just because everybody knows, it's understood. We assume all of these things. As product managers, a lot of times we find purpose and fulfillment into that we're solving the right problems. We're builders. We ship product. We send that out there, and it's really important that we talked about solving the right problem, right? And it doesn't really matter how shiny, how flashy your product is. If it's not hitting the nail with the right problem, you're gonna have a novel product that's really cool. Everybody's gonna talk about it. You're gonna have your 5 minutes, and then it's just gonna wear off. To continue and have a success on your product, you also need to get ahead of the curve. And what that really represents is, while everybody's doing the same thing, everybody's trying to incrementally innovate and build, take a time to kind of look around, step back, step up, and actually see what, try to connect the dots. Try to connect the dots that most people don't see when it's not really obvious and it's not in front of them. Have you noticed how some people are successful regardless where they go? It doesn't matter what environment they're in, regardless of which company they work for, they always just tend to be successful. It happens in business, it happens in product, it happens in sports, it happens everywhere. And a lot of times you can say, well, look, these guys are really the best. Of course they're going to be successful wherever they go. But that's not always the case. That's the assumption that most people make, that these people are just the best, and that's why they succeed everywhere they go. A lot of times, they can do things such as seeing ahead of the curve, which nobody else sees, just because of getting that perspective and putting old solutions into new problems. And what that really puts you in place it puts you in place to kind of look ahead and not really rely on just what your eyes can see in front of you. To sustain success, it's very important that we continue to innovate. I mean, we talked about innovation for sure. Innovation is not really, we're going to do this big thing and we're going to make this big splash and our leadership is going to go out and say, we're the innovators, all of that stuff. Innovation happens every day. It's solving new problems, adding new methods, expanding automation. All of these things actually contribute to innovation. Innovation is expanding your problem solutions into new spaces that kind of collateral to your main problem statement. And from all this, there's a couple of things that I want you to take away at the end. An amazing product, it needs to solve the right problem. It needs to have an amazing user experience. It also needs to innovate, adding additional problems to your product, solving additional problems for your users. And you need to really go deep on that emotional connection with your users. Now, the three things that I want you to remember here is relationships with your users. The first thing is that go out there and really invest in your relationship with your users. Yes, you're building software for them, but building upon a good, solid, mutually beneficial relationship with your users, it really puts you on a path to have a sustained success. The second thing is innovate. Keep adding, build upon your existing product. Don't wait for somebody from the top to come and tell you. Okay, so I think that's the key point here, is that innovation is something, it's a culture. It's not really a deliverable. Most people think of that as like, we're going to do this and then we can say, yeah, we're innovating. It's actually a way of thinking. It's a way of operating. It's a way of putting conscious time aside to do new things. And this is, in my company and in previous companies, we've had a dedicated capacity time put together just for this. There was really no concrete expectations out of it other than go and brainstorm and think of new things. And we call it like the innovation lab. And when you do this consciously, it really, really starts producing results. It's not something that when I have time, I'll do it, because you never do. You never really have time. And the last thing is what I call the blue ocean strategy, is when you go out there and you start building and then you run into a wall, into a completely new space that there's no category for what you're doing. Okay, and a lot of times people, it's a deterrent to kind of not move forward just because it's completely novel and it's new. I challenge that idea as well, because I think it's really important to, if there's no category for what you're doing, make one. Be the first one to jump out there. It's a blue ocean. You have a full-on field, open field in front of you, and innovate and make your own category, because that's really what's going to push you forward, propel you forward on really making a difference out there. I think that's all I had for today. Thank you. Yes. Can you expand on putting old solution into new problems? Absolutely. So when you think about ideas in general, you've heard this many times. We want new ideas. Okay. When you brainstorm, a lot of times people are asked for ideas. But if you really think about where ideas come from, it's a fusion from a lot of other ideas from the past that are put into a new situation in a new place. Okay, there's very few. It's really hard to have an original idea. What you think is original is just because you're not aware of the other things that are out there. So what I mean by old solutions is as you experiment, as you go into the world of product, you tackle different problems, and putting an old solution, for example, I think, what's a good example? Uber is a good example. Calling a car to come and pick you up, it's nothing novel about that, okay? A lot of people had done that before. They had not done it in a situation that kind of ties it together with the car sharing riding, and kind of leveraging people that are already moving around to give you a ride. That's kind of I think that's a good example of this. But this could be applied to almost anything. We're all consumers, we're all users, just like the people that we're building our software for. So if you think about what you as a user want or experiencing, or you've seen a solution in the past, those are all small components of how an old solution can be put into a completely new environment. And it may seem like a very groundbreaking, innovative solution, but in essence, it's basically it's a combination, it's a fusion into a new world. Can you share a failure or disaster from your experience that changed your thinking about product? Yes, I've had many of those, me and everybody else around me. I think a few learnings that kind of come to mind about building products and shipping products. One example that I can talk about is basically the product that never became. So this is something that we put a lot of effort, a lot of energy, research, UX, we overbuilt, and it just never saw the day of light because of misalignment at the leadership level. Okay, now what the learning here is not that we couldn't build the product or the product wasn't great. We were working in a completely different space that nobody at the top really bought in from the very beginning. And we were instructed to go and execute without a clear sense of objective at the top level. The learning here is that now that I lead teams, I make sure that I consciously don't put my team in a situation like this, because there's nothing more soul-crushing for a product manager than putting your heart and soul into something and never actually getting it out. What advice would you have about installing an innovation lab at a company that's never had one? I think, similar to my previous point, get a buy-in from the CEO. I think at the this is the very first thing you need to do. That this is sell the importance of what that really means. And once you get a buy-in from the top, actually putting it in place, putting it in action, it's the easy part. It's mostly getting the buy-in and putting that as part of the culture that, look, we really want to kind of innovate on the side and think of new solutions, think of new problems. All of that is obviously important. It's not important for the executive level if it's not moving the needle a lot of times, because they're very pragmatic, very numbers and all of that. And this is the intangible day of the week that just goes off and smokes. So you as a product leader, you should come and actually make the really good case that this actually means something to the company, and this is how this is going to impact the product on the long haul. You're not going to see the result tomorrow or next month, but this really puts us on a path that we can really do some really cool stuff. Great. Thank you.